escape from Kovno, yours and Penina's, and the last testament of Elkes, of Dr. Elkes.
That's right. Well, we are talking about the escape from the ghetto, not from Kovno. Two different things. Well, as I already mentioned before, I was one of the 4 founders of the Zionist underground movement, which was a resistance. And we were prepared in the very end when the ghetto is, before liquidating the ghetto, the leaders will escape to the woods, to the partisan woods. And this was the planning. It was a matter of timing. When should we escape from the ghetto? And this was very important because each one of the 4 leaders of the Zionist resistance movement were holding positions in the ghetto life. So it wasn't just a matter of one's decision. It had to be a decision with the consent of the chairman of the Jewish committee and so on. But it happened so, as I also told you, that I was very much engaged in looking and finding a place of hiding for Shulamit, which was in 7 years. When I found such a place, and the legendary escape of Shulamit from the ghetto, she fell very ill. And when she came into the farm of hiding, it was absolutely necessary that Penina should go there at least for a week, because we couldn't bring a doctor.
Okay, let me back up, and if you could tell us on tape that Shulamit was Penina's daughter, just so we have it, and
Yes.
how she got to the farm.
Yes, well, Shulamit, Penina's first husband, was killed, was murdered by the Lithuanians already the first days of the outbreak of the war. And Penina went into the ghetto with a small child of 5 years, her name Shulamit, a little bit less than 5 years. And she could bring nothing with her from home because her apartment, a huge apartment, the most elegant apartment in Kovno, was taken over by German generals. And they didn't let her in when she was taken to prison. All the older family were taken to prison. There they were separated, her husband separately. And
we have all that.
All that, yes.
We have all that.
Anyhow, so she remained in the ghetto alone with Shulamit. And since Penina was hiding my entries in the diary and my collection of documents, I felt I must help Penina in hiding, finding and rescue Shulamit, to cut a long story short. It was very difficult, but in the very end I succeeded in finding a contact with a priest who found a place for her hiding. And when I took her out from the ghetto, 3 times I tried and I didn't succeed because it failed. There always were or a Gestapo officer or somebody else that our plans failed. On the 3rd time I succeeded in taking her out of the ghetto. But in the 2 first times of trying, it was winter, it was cold, so she got a cold. She got a cold, and when she finally reached the farm 54 kilometers away from Kovno, it's about 80 miles, about 40 miles, she was entirely sick, Shulamit. And only by incident, it's not here the place to say, by incident we got to know that she's ill in the farm. And I immediately went to the priest and I told him we must give medical help, assistance, and since no doctor can be brought to Shulamit to cure her, at least Penina would go, take along with her medicine. We had excellent doctors in the ghetto, and she took along, and the priest was very opposing it because it was a danger. Anyhow, I said it would help nothing if she would die, Shulamit, from illness. It's the same, we didn't do nothing. So she was there, but instead of being there a week, Penina stayed there for months. And she worked there in the farm in all walks as one. She was considered as a relative, far relative from town that she ran away from bombardments and from the war. But she was for all things and purposes worked with the family, and she got very well acquainted with them. And it was a woman, a widow, whose husband, the boss of the farm, fell from a thunderstorm, and he was buried in this farm. And the widow was a very good-hearted and very religious, and that's why the priest wouldn't talk her in that he should take the child for hiding. And then she was really happy that Pnina came, because she didn't know what to. Shulamit was crying all the time, "Mama, Mama." And as I said, she left there instead of a week. She stood there for about 4 or 5 months. And when she was acquainted there, the woman, the widow, had 3 daughters and 1 son. The son was about 18 years. But because his father was dead, so he was the head of the family and ran the farm, and he couldn't attend school. He was illiterate. And he very much wanted to learn to write and to read. So Pnina told him, "Look, Yosef was his name, Yosef. I have a man, he's a lawyer, and he's an educated man, and he'll educate you in writing, Lithuanian, and arithmetic."
Did this young man, you helped him, we do have to cut it a bit.
Yes.
Did you help him? Did he help you escape?
And then he was the one who agreed that that I should be brought, and he himself prepared a special hiding place for me inside the farm, far away from everyone. And so I came to the farm. So one day I was surprised from the priest informed me that a wagon will be waiting for me on the 23rd of February 1944 for the farm. I was, as I said, prepared to go for the woods, but not for the farm. But since I got such a word from Pnina, so it was nothing doing, so I had to escape from the ghetto. A night before, so I told Dr. Elkes about my plans, that I have to escape from the ghetto. And the last night I spent in the house, in the tiny dwelling of Dr. Elkes, the head of the community, and his deputy Garfunkel and Mrs. Elkes, which was a lady in a very full sense of the word, just a lady. And the 2 people, I disclosed to them, and I told them that the hiding place of the 5 crates of my diary and collection, and they should know where it is. But Garfunkel, the deputy, said, "Golub, you cannot do it. It is already no ghetto. It's already concentration camp. And you are going to commit suicide. Who can escape now from the ghetto? And how will you make the 54 kilometers? I beg of you, don't do it. It is terrible. It is dangerous. Don't you know the case of Meg? Meg was the one who was caught when he tried to escape through the barbed wire. He was hanged publicly. Don't you know it? You were there all night in the Gestapo together with him in the cell. But Dr. Elke said, "Golub, if you would be my son, I would tell you, go, because you are the only one who know best what expired in the ghetto. You kept a diary, and you have a collection of documentation, and you have a mission to go and bring the knowledge to the world, to the outer world, that it should remain to the future generations." The Germans digged out the corpses of the 60,000 that were killed in the 9th Fortress, so that there will remain no sign of it. That's why I think, I'm sure, you have courage, you have knowledge, you have the persistence, and you will succeed, I'm sure about it. So in order to encourage me more, he took out from his drawer his last will. His two children, a son, now Professor Elkins, and a daughter Sarah, were studying in London. And he says, here is my last will, give it to my children. I rely upon you, your wisdom and your courage, and what you have done in the ghetto for the 3 years. You have shown that you have enough power of will, and you'll make it. And this is what gave me the courage really to escape. And it was very, very exciting 4 hours. And we embraced and we kissed each other. And then I left his home 2 after midnight, 2:30 after midnight. 2 hours later, I was already at the main ghetto gate, and there were my 2 friends, one of the most activists of the underground Zionist resistance movement, Ilka Greenberg, who was an officer in the Lithuanian army and trained in the underground, and the second one was Yankele Verbowski, is now in New York. We called him the savior at the gate. He knew how to bribe the sentries at the gate, and when one sentry will be and what sentry is good. So he fixed the hour at 5 o'clock in the morning, when only one sentry is at the gate. They start only at 6 o'clock, they start to move from the ghetto. So you come at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he bribed the sentry. He and Ika Greenberg stood, they were we had, at the ghetto gate, there was a station of the ghetto Jewish police and of the labor department. So they were official at the ghetto. So they let me through the gate, and then in this way I escaped from the ghetto with a wagon of another 4 people, allegedly to bring on the wagon bread for the ghetto. They returned, of course, without me, but this is how I succeeded to pass through the gate in a very dangerous time, when Gecko, the liquidator of the ghetto, he would not spare a minute just to pull a bullet himself in the down hands. But when I escaped, I got known later that the Gestapo and the ghetto commander announced that the 5,000 mark will get the one who will disclose where the whereabouts of Avraham Golub, or his dead body, dead or alive, we need him. You see, and this will show you how important it was, the great help of my very close friend. Ilka Greenberg, the policeman, was questioned at the 9th Fortress. He was the one who saw me last. Where did I go and how did I go? And they beat him to death, but he didn't say a word. Even they took one of his eyes out, and then they killed him, but he didn't disclose a word. I want to tell you, and when I escaped from the ghetto, I came to the priest, and the priest told me the widow, from the farm, she is here with a wagon and 2 horses, and I should take the wagon and the horses, and I should cross the bridge that between Kovno and the other suburb, Alexot, which leads to the farm where they had the farm with the widow. But the priest said he wouldn't want to rescue the life of the widow, the very good Christian woman, in case they'll be caught at the bridge, because on both sides of the bridge were stationed military gendarmes, and they checked each and every one, the documents and everything. So it was not very easy. I had no other choice. So, and we said that we will meet 2 miles after the bridge, after the second part of the bridge. And when I took the horses, you know, and they had a very big coat as a peasant, you know, and they came to the bridge, there was a queue of a mile. And because they checked and double-checked each one who came. So I had forged documents as a Albenas, you see. Anyhow, so all of a sudden I see that one leaves the queue with his wagon, and he passes by the sentry, the gendarme, and he says, "Heil Hitler!" And he passes by, and they let him go. So I said, well, wait a minute, I can also say Heil Hitler. You see, so, but it was to decide in the second, this is your life, or you live, or you pass, or don't. But I had nothing to lose, only to win. So I take out my with the horse, my wagon aside, and I pass by, and I say, Heil Hitler, and with the weapon that I had in my second hand, I show them below that the wagon is entirely empty, there is nothing, only straw, you see. So with one hand I said, Heil Hitler, and with the other hand I showed them there was an empty wagon. Der Wagen ist leer, in German. And I passed by, to the greatest of my surprise, you see. And then on it's a long bridge, and when you come to the second part of the bridge, again the same story. Another sentry, and he has checking again, you know, checking again, and again I say, Heil Hitler! The wagon is leer, the wagon is leer, and they let me go. And this way, I couldn't believe what had happened. If one would be a religious man, he would say that it is heaven, it is the miracle. But I don't believe in miracles. I believe in persistence, in hard work, in making up your mind, and know what you do, and know where to go, and don't give in, and don't take no as an answer. And there is nothing like that not permitted. What was permitted for us? The German was really in the ghetto. He came in and he saw in a dwelling, and he saw a woman lying in her bed. So he said, why don't you at work? Why are you so lazy in the bed? So she said, Herr Sturmführer, I am ill. I have 39 grade of temperature. It was a very high temperature. I must stay in bed. So he tells her, ein Jude muss nur sterben, alles andere muss nicht. A Jew must die. All others he must not. All others he must not. He must not lie in bed, even if he's ill. So this is what I knew exactly, and but I didn't want to die. So at 3 miles after the bridge, I was with the bite. I was beating the horses, and there was the guy and happy. And when the woman stood there, she didn't believe her eyes. She was sure.
Which
that
woman?
The peasant, the owner of the farm. The priest didn't want that she should risk her life passing by the control at the both sides of the bridge. So she went by foot and she waited there until I come. And then she mounted the wagon and she took over the horses and we ride. And what happened, unfortunately, happy and unhappy, a wonderful, good woman, good-hearted woman, but she was a drunk. So wherever it was only a saloon, she stopped and went in and drank. And she drank not regular vodka, but homemade, which is a terrible thing. So I told her, Mariona, her name was Maria, Mariona, I beg of you, every moment when you go into the saloon, they can arrest us. both, you and me.
She was drinking on this journey to the farm.
Stopped at the side of the road, went into a saloon to drink, and it was a matter that continues. Instead of going, it should take us from the morning at midday at 1 or 2 o'clock. We should be already in the farm, but see, she stood in every corner, and in one place she found relatives. So she took me into her house with to the relatives, and she said, "Oh, please meet. It is a relative of the priest from Kovno." So the priest, so they offered me eat and all meal. So I said, "We are in a hurry. We cannot stay here." To cut a long story short, she was in the end of the day. We came home. It was night. It was evening. It was night. And she was entirely drunk, and she went not the wrong way, and I had to go and to knock on the doors of the peasants in order to find out which way do we have to go to Virwagalei. This is the name of the farm, and we came only at 3 after midnight. At 3 after midnight, and when we came into the farm, Nina was sure that the Gestapo took us, and that's why we didn't come in time. And it was obvious, such cases. Well, to tell you, my meeting with Nina at 3 o'clock in the midnight, I went from afar. There was some little light, a candle was. And I asked her, "Listen, there I can see light there. Is this your farm?" So she said, "Oh, yes." You see, but she was drunk. And this we met in the farm, of course. Her son, Josas, 80 years, he was prepared already for me a hiding, not in the house where the farmers live, but where were the storage for winter wagons in summer, for summer wagons, the winter wagons in summer. And I had to go in to squeeze in, like less than this space, you see. And you could not stay there in Burma hiding. You had to either to sit or to lay down. And they had in the farm a worker, a hired worker, and he was an anti-Semite terribly. And all the time he questioned Shulamit, whether she is Jewish, and how does she pray, and when does she go to church, and so on and so on. So he didn't have an idea that I'm hiding in the...
How long were you hiding in the farm?
4 consecutive months. 6 days in the week I didn't go out from the hiding places. Only on Sunday, when the hired laborer went to church on Sundays, I used to go out and breathe the air. So when I breathed the fresh air, I was entirely, my head was, from this. But this is how we were. And then one night, the Red Army came closer to the farm, and all around was bombardments and fire. So I couldn't stay in that place, in that hiding, because every moment also this hiding could be fire. But they had a most strategic canal around the old farm. The farm was, let's say, like this, longer, and around this 2 rows of high woods, of high trees, and between the trees, very close, was a canal. So when I went out from this hiding place and I laid down in the canal at night, and I fell asleep. All of a sudden, I feel that on my belly a boot presses me very hard, and a strong light flash on my eyes. I couldn't see who is in front of me, and I could see only that a gun is before my nose. And I could immediately, when Tabata couldn't see who is in front of me, all that I could understand that it must be a Russian, because we knew that the Russian is coming, the Red Army. So I told him in Russian, don't kill me, I am a Jew. Don't kill me, I am a Jew. But he didn't move. And the belly was pressing. So I told him, my wife and my child are also hiding in the... I escaped from Kovno, from the Nazis. And my wife and my child is also, don't kill me. Also they are in the house, the front of the farm. Don't kill me. So then he took away the gun from my nose, and he took off the belly and told me, stand up. And I stood up, so then take off your clothes. Entirely naked I stood, and then he could see that I'm a Jew. And then he told me, if you escaped from Kovno, from the Nazis, what are you doing here? We already liberated Kovno 5 days. So I said, I could see the very top officer of the army. But he looked to me like a Jew, but he didn't disclose a word about his Jewishness. So he said, why don't you go back to Kovno? So I said, how do they know? I'm hiding here. So I said, if you'll be kind enough to give me the name of the places where I can go, because they said they are, every fight, 90 German tanks are trying to cross, to close the way for the Red Army, and they're going to break in. So I said, if I go in, I'll come exactly on the German tanks. And could you show me the map, your map, so I'll know which way to go? To my greatest surprise, the top officer did not have a map with him at all. But he said to me, you know, you stay here, don't go anywhere, and tell your wife and your child that here will be big fight. This will be the fire line, because we are making here, this is a strategic point, and this farm exactly suits us to have the headquarters of the fire line. So run away as soon as possible, but wait 2 hours, I'll come, and then I'll tell you the names of the villages or the farms where you can go on your way to Kovno. And I immediately, when he went away, I immediately went to the farmer, to the Maria, and I told her, Maria, I just spoke with the Russian top officer, and he said, here there will be big fightings, and there will be the fire line. Come with us, take your children, and we'll go to stay with us in Kovno until the battle is finished here.
Okay, Avram, I am going to interrupt. Let me ask you a set of questions now so that we can get some answers that work, okay?
Go ahead.
Okay, let's change tape. So we pause, we will change tape, and then we will do this.